Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah, great to be here.
Today we're tackling negativity.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not just going to sit here and be like, oh, negativity is bad.
Right.
We're actually going to give you tools and techniques to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this.
We're going to be diving deep into this article,
Okay.
How to Stop Being Negative and Embrace Positivity by Afam Uch.
Catchy title.
Yeah, very catchy. And one of the things I thought was really interesting about this article is, we all know that positivity is, obviously the goal.
Yeah.
But this one really lays out 15 specific things you can do.
Yeah, it's not just like vague advice.
Right,
It's
exactly.
like, think positive.
Suggestive.
But it's like, here's how you can actually kind of like rewire your brain
Yeah,
to be more positive.
exactly.
So where do we even start with 15 different things?
I think gratitude is a good place to start
Okay, gratitude.
because it's something that I think a lot of us have heard about.
Yeah, the gratitude journal.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't think a lot of us actually realize how much it can change the way your brain works.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that's like almost too simple. You're like, really, just writing down things I'm grateful for is going to change my brain.
Right.
But there's actually research
Yeah.
that shows it can.
Yeah.
Like studies have shown that if you practice gratitude regularly, it can increase activity in your prefrontal cortex.
What is the prefrontal cortex?
That's the part of your brain that's responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's basically like the more grateful you are,
Yeah.
the stronger that part of your brain gets.
So it's not just like a feeling, it's literally changing your brain.
Yeah. It's like a gratitude workout
Yeah.
for your brain.
It's building those positivity muscles.
Huh.
So in the moment you're feeling good, but then you're also building this structure within your brain to be able to look for the positive.
Yeah, you're training your brain to focus on those positive experiences like more and more over time.
Oh, I like that. It's like instead of your brain immediately going to, oh, all these things are wrong. It's like, wait, but these things are good.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. Okay. What's another one we can talk about?
So another one that I think is really important is reframing negative thoughts.
Okay. So what is that?
Well, we all have negative thoughts, right?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
I can't do this, or this is never going to work.
Yeah, that inner critic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we don't have to just accept those thoughts as truth.
Okay.
We can actually choose to reframe them.
Okay.
And this is a huge part of what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
Oh, wow. So like a real clinical therapy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's not just like some woo-woo feel-good thing.
Right.
There's actual science behind it.
Yeah.
And CBT teaches us to kind of identify those negative thought patterns and challenge them.
So instead of being like, oh, I can't do this,
Yeah.
it's like, well, how can I learn to do this?
Yeah, exactly. Like instead of, I can't do this, it's, I can learn and improve with practice.
Okay.
It's about shifting your perspective.
From feeling defeated to feeling empowered.
Exactly.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Yeah, taking control.
Taking control, yeah. So along those lines, what about the people around us?
Yeah, that's another big one.
Because I've always heard that saying,
Oh.
you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
But what if you work somewhere or you have family that's negative?
Yeah, that's a great point.
What do you do then?
I mean, ideally, yeah, surrounding yourself with positive people is going to have a big impact on your own outlook. But you're right. It's not always possible to control your environment completely.
Right.
But even in those situations, you can still be mindful of the energy that you're bringing to those interactions.
Okay, so even if someone's being negative, I don't have to jump into that negativity pool with them.
Exactly. You can choose to step back, disengage, and create your own little bubble of positivity.
Okay.
Think of it this way. If you were in a room full of smoke, you wouldn't just stand there and breathe it in.
Right, right.
You try to get to some fresh air.
Yeah.
It's the same with negativity.
I creating your own fresh
Your
air.
mental fresh air.
Okay. So this is all starting to make sense. It's
Yeah.
all about creating this ecosystem of positivity around you.
Exactly.
And part of that is how you talk to yourself.
Yeah, your self-talk is huge.
Because we're all really good at being really critical of ourselves.
Oh, yeah, the inner critic.
The inner critic, yes.
But think about it this way. If you had a friend who came to you feeling down, would you tell them they're not good enough? Would you, berate them and criticize them?
Of course not.
Yeah.
I would be like, you are amazing.
Exactly.
I do this.
So why not treat yourself with that same kindness?
Right.
It's about shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion.
Yeah.
And that can make a huge difference.
So be your own cheerleader.
Yeah, be your own best friend.
Okay. Now, one more thing I want to touch on
Yeah.
before we go to a break is setting realistic goals.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Because I don't know about you, but I'm really bad at setting these like incredibly high goals. And then when I don't reach them,
You feel bad about yourself.
I feel terrible.
Yeah.
Like I've done something wrong.
We think setting those big goals is going to motivate us,
Right.
but often it just makes us feel overwhelmed
Yes.
and inadequate.
Yeah.
So the key is to find a balance.
Okay.
Right.
Right. So not like lower your standard,
No, not lower your standard,
but be realistic.
but set yourself up for success.
Okay.
Right. Like goals that are challenging,
Yeah.
but also achievable.
Yeah. Okay.
So the article suggests breaking those big goals down into smaller steps.
Okay. That's good. Yeah.
So it's less daunting.
Yeah.
And then you can celebrate those small wins.
No, yeah, the small wins.
And that can actually boost your motivation even more.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to dive deeper into these other techniques.
Or positivity tips.
Yes, we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Okay, so last time we were talking about all these different ways to combat negativity.
Yeah, all those techniques from that article.
Yeah. So one of the things that really stuck with me was setting realistic goals.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Because it's so easy to, like, set the bar super high and then feel terrible when you don't reach it, you know?
Yeah, it's like we're setting ourselves up for disappointment almost.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not about, like, lowering your standards or anything like that.
Right.
It's just about finding a balance.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, remember how the article talked about breaking down big goals into smaller steps?
Yeah, I remember that.
So instead of focusing on like this huge, overwhelming goal,
Yeah.
you break it down into these little manageable chunks.
Okay.
And then each time you accomplish one of those smaller steps,
Yeah.
it's like a little victory.
Oh, the small wins. Yeah.
Exactly. And those small wins can actually give you the motivation to keep going.
I like that. Yeah, it's like building momentum.
Totally. Okay, so switching gears a bit.
Okay.
I wanted to circle back to something we talked about earlier, which was like the whole negativity in the media thing.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's a big one for me.
It's everywhere, right?
Everywhere, like the news, social media, it's just like constant.
It's like a fire hose of negativity sometimes.
Yeah. And it's hard to like escape it, you know?
It really is.
So how do you like protect yourself from all that?
Well, I think the key is to be really intentional about what you're consuming.
Okay, so not just like passively scrolling through social media all day.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So, for example, instead of just watching whatever news comes on,
Yeah.
maybe you seek out some more positive news sources.
Oh, are there such things?
There are, actually. There are a lot of publications and websites that focus on good news and inspiring stories.
Huh. I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah, definitely do. And also, just be mindful of how much time you're spending on social media.
Right? Yeah.
Like, maybe set some limits for yourself.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and remember that analogy we talked about earlier with the smoke-filled room?
Oh, yeah. Finding fresh air.
Exactly. So think of these positive news sources and inspiring stories as, like, your mental fresh air.
I like that. Creating your own little oasis of positivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about something a little more fun.
Okay, I'm all for that.
Let's talk about hobbies.
Oh, yes. Hobbies are the best. What are some of your favorite things to do? Oh, I love reading, going for walks in nature, and spending time with my friends.
Those are great.
Yeah, what about you?
Oh, I love to cook and bake, and I'm also really into gardening.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's so relaxing to get my hands dirty in the soil.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I think it's so important to have those things, those activities that bring you joy.
Absolutely.
Because they can really help to offset all the negativity that we're exposed to, you know?
Totally. It's like an antidote to negativity.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just about having fun either.
Oh, yeah.
Engaging in these activities that you're passionate about can actually have some pretty profound benefits for your mental health.
Oh, wow. In what way?
Well, for one thing, it can help reduce stress and anxiety.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it can also boost your mood and even improve your cognitive function.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that powerful.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So make time for those hobbies, folks.
Yes, absolutely. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is this whole idea of focusing on solutions instead of problems.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in like the worry and the what ifs, you know?
It's like that hamster wheel of negativity.
Yes.
Just spinning and spinning, but getting you nowhere.
Exactly.
But the key is to shift your focus.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, Instead of dwelling on the problem,
Yeah.
start thinking about possible solutions.
Okay.
Like brainstorm some ideas,
Uh-huh.
even if they seem a little out there at first,
Okay. Yeah.
and then start taking action.
So it's about like reclaiming your power
Exa-
instead of feeling helpless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not just a victim of your circumstances.
Right.
You can actually do something to change them.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's empowering. Now, speaking of empowering,
Okay.
have you ever tried mindfulness?
You know, I've heard a lot about it, but I've never really understood what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around a
Oh,
lot.
right. Exactly.
But basically, it's about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Okay.
So, like, noticing your thoughts and feelings,
Uh-huh.
but not getting carried away by them.
So it's not about like emptying your mind or anything like that.
No, not necessarily. It's more about just observing your thoughts and feelings
Okay.
without getting all tangled up in them.
Okay. So how do you do that?
Well, one of the best ways is through meditation.
Okay, now I'm really lost.
I know meditation can seem intimidating,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Like even just taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on your breath can make a huge difference.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't have to be like hours and hours of chanting or anything like that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Just a few minutes here and there can be really beneficial.
Okay. I might have to give that a try.
I highly recommend it. It can really help to calm your mind
Yeah.
and reduce stress.
And we could all use a little less stress in our lives.
For sure.
Okay, so what else can we do to boost our positivity?
Well, we've talked about it a little bit already, but I
Yeah.
want to emphasize the importance of exercise.
Oh, exercise. Yeah, I know it's good for you,
It is.
but sometimes it's hard to get motivated.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
But seriously, even just a little bit of movement can make a huge difference in your mood.
Really?
Yeah, because when you exercise, your brain releases all these feel-good chemicals like endorphins.
Oh, those endorphins. Yeah, I've heard of those.
And those endorphins can help to reduce stress, anxiety, and even depression.
Wow. So it's not just about physical health, it's about mental health too.
Exactly. It's like a 2-for-1 deal.
I like that. A 2-for-1 deal.
So find something you enjoy doing, whether it's going for a walk, dancing, or hitting the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and make it a regular part of your routine.
Okay, I'm going to try to do that.
Awesome. Now, while we're on the topic of routines, let's talk about sleep.
Oh, sleep. Yeah, I love
It
sleep.
doesn't, right?
But sometimes it's hard to get enough.
I know, I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
But getting enough sleep is crucial for both our physical and mental health.
So how much sleep should we be aiming for?
Most adults need around 7-8 hours per night.
Okay.
And when we don't get enough sleep, it can really mess with our mood.
Yeah, I definitely feel that.
Right. Like you're more irritable,
Yeah.
you're more likely to get stressed out,
Uh-huh.
and your concentration suffers.
Right. It's like you're running on fumes.
Exactly. So make sleep a priority.
Okay, will do. Now, another quick tip for boosting positivity is deep breathing.
Oh, yeah. Deep breathing is amazing.
I've heard of that, but I've never really tried it.
You should definitely give it a try.
Okay.
It's so simple, but it can really help to calm your nervous system.
How does it work?
Well, when we're stressed or anxious, our breathing tends to become shallow and rapid.
Yeah, that's true.
But when we consciously slow down our breathing and take deep breaths, it sends a signal to our brains that everything's okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it helps to lower our heart rate and blood pressure.
So it's like a mini vacation for your mind.
Exactly, and you can do it anywhere, anytime.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different techniques so far.
We have?
Are there any others that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about limiting self-criticism.
Oh, the inner critic again.
Yes, that pesky inner critic.
It's hard to silence that voice sometimes.
It really is.
Yeah,
But remember, you don't have to believe everything that voice tells you.
right.
And in fact, being too critical of yourself can actually be really damaging.
Okay.
So instead of beating yourself up, try to practice some self-compassion.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means treating yourself with the same kindness
Yeah.
and understanding that you would offer a friend.
So like being gentle with myself.
Exactly.
Okay.
And forgiving yourself when you make mistakes.
Okay, I can try to do that.
Good. Now, speaking of forgiveness, it's also important to talk about expressing your feelings.
Oh, that's a tough one for me.
I know it can be hard to open up,
Yeah.
especially when you're feeling down.
Right.
But bottling up your emotions can actually make them worse.
So what should I do instead?
Find a healthy outlet for expressing those feelings.
Like what?
Well, you could talk to a trusted friend or family member.
Okay.
You could write in a journal,
Uh-huh.
or you can even seek professional help from a therapist.
Okay, so it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the important thing is to not keep those feelings bottled up inside.
Right, let him out.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Now, the final technique I want to touch on is challenging negative beliefs.
Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, so our beliefs play a huge role in how we see the world.
Okay.
And if we have a lot of negative beliefs,
Yeah,
it's going to make it harder to be positive.
that makes sense.
So the first step is to identify those negative beliefs.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Pay attention to your thoughts.
Oh.
What are the things that you constantly tell yourself?
Like, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be successful.
Exactly.
Oh.
Those are negative beliefs.
Yeah.
And once you've identified them, you can start to challenge them.
Okay, so how do you challenge a belief?
Well, ask yourself if there's any evidence to support that belief.
Okay.
And if there isn't, then start looking for evidence to the contrary.
So, like, finding proof that those negative beliefs aren't true.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. So it's about, like, replacing those negative beliefs with more positive ones.
Exactly. And it takes time and effort,
Yeah.
but it's definitely possible.
Okay. Well, this has been such a great conversation.
I agree.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I'm excited to continue exploring these techniques.
Yeah, we've got so much more to talk about.
We do. So we'll be right back with more positivity tips and tricks.
Stay tuned.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive into positivity.
It's amazing how many practical things you can actually do
All right.
to like shift your mindset
Yeah.
from negative to positive.
And I feel like one of the things we keep coming back to, and for good reason,
Yeah.
is gratitude.
Gratitude is huge.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in what's wrong.
Right, focusing on what you're lacking
Yeah.
instead of what you have.
And gratitude really helps with that.
It's like a muscle, you know.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And the easier it is to find things to be grateful for.
Exactly.
Even when things are tough.
Even when it feels like there's nothing to be grateful for, there
Yeah.
always is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, along those lines, one of the things that I found really helpful is finding those things, those activities
Yeah.
that bring you joy.
Joy is so important.
Because when you're doing something you love,
Yeah.
it's like the negativity just kind of melts away.
And
you know?
like a little vacation from your worries.
Yes, exactly.
And it reminds you
Yeah.
that life isn't all bad.
Right, exactly.
There's still beauty and goodness and
Mhm.
things to be excited about.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like another thing that can help with that is, you know, we talked about it earlier, but focusing on solutions.
Solutions, not problems.
Yes, because it's so easy to get caught in that, like, problem-solving mode.
Yeah, dwelling on the problem.
Yeah.
And getting all stressed out.
And not actually doing anything to fix it.
Exactly.
So how do we shift that?
Well, the first step is to, like, acknowledge the problem,
Okay.
but then immediately shift your focus to finding a solution.
Okay.
So instead of saying, oh, this is terrible, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You say, okay, this is the situation. How can I make it better?
Okay. I like that. It's about taking control.
Exactly. And it's
Ah.
amazing how much more positive you feel
Yeah.
when you're focused on taking action
Right.
instead of just wallowing in the problem.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I want to touch on again is mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yes.
Because I've been trying to incorporate it more into my life, and it's really helped me to become more aware of my thoughts.
Yeah.
And not get so carried away by them.
That's the whole point of mindfulness, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
about
true.
noticing your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Yeah,
So you can choose how you want to respond to them
right.
instead of just reacting automatically.
And it's really helped me to not get so sucked into those negative thought spirals, you know?
Yeah, it's like you're creating a little space between yourself and your
Yeah.
thoughts.
So you can observe them
Yeah.
without getting completely overwhelmed by them.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing, actually.
It is. And the more you practice it,
Yeah,
the easier it becomes.
yeah, for sure. And, you know, speaking of things that get easier with practice, exercise.
Exercise.
I know we talked about it before,
Yeah.
but it's so important for both our physical and mental health.
It really is. And those endorphins, they're no joke.
No, they're not. I mean, I always feel so much better
Yeah.
after a workout, even
Yeah.
if I didn't want to do it at first.
Right? It's like you have more energy,
Yeah.
you're in a better mood,
Hmm.
and you just feel good about yourself.
Absolutely. And, you know, while we're on the topic of things that make you feel good, sleep.
Sleep. The
Either.
ultimate recharge.
Yes, because when I'm sleep deprived,
Yeah.
everything just feels harder, you know?
It's like you're walking through life in a fog,
Yes, exactly.
and everything is just like amplified.
Right.
The good stuff is less good,
Yeah.
and the bad stuff is way worse.
Yeah, for sure. So how much sleep should we be aiming for?
Most adults need around 7 to 8 hours per night.
Okay, that's what I've heard. And sometimes if I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, just taking a few deep breaths can really help.
Deep breathing is like magic.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing how something so simple
Yeah.
can have such a profound effect on your body and mind.
It's like you're hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
Yes, exactly. Now, another thing that I found helpful is practicing self-compassion.
Self-compassion is so important.
Because it's so easy to be hard on yourself,
Yeah, we're often our own worst critics.
Yes. But when you can be kind to yourself,
Yeah.
it makes a world of difference.
It's like instead of beating yourself up,
Yeah.
you're giving yourself a hug.
Oh, I like that.
And that can be so healing.
Yeah, it really can.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to express your feelings.
Expressing your feelings.
Because if you keep everything bottled up inside,
Yeah.
it's just going to make things worse.
It's like a pressure cooker.
Yeah, exactly. So whether you talk to a friend, write in a journal,
Uh-huh.
or see a therapist,
Yeah.
it's important to find a healthy way
Right.
to let those emotions out.
Let it all out.
Yeah. And finally, I think it's important to remember that we have the power to challenge our negative beliefs.
Challenging negative beliefs, that's a game changer.
Because our beliefs really shape how we see the world.
They do. They're like the lens through which we view everything.
Yeah, so if we have a lot of negative beliefs,
Yeah.
we're going to see the world as a negative place.
But the good news is
Yeah.
we can change those beliefs.
How do we do that?
Well, the first step is to become aware of them.
Okay.
So pay attention to your thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Notice the things that you're constantly telling yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
And then once you've identified those negative beliefs,
Yeah.
you can start to question them.
Okay.
Ask yourself if they're really true
Right.
and look for evidence to the contrary.
So it's about replacing those negative thoughts with
Yeah.
more positive ones.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that. Well, this has been such an incredible deep dive into positivity.
It really has. We've covered so much ground.
I know. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit
Yeah.
for dealing with negativity.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right. It's not about being positive all the time.
Exactly. It's about having the tools
Yeah.
to deal with the negative
Uh-huh.
and cultivate more positivity in your life.
So keep practicing these techniques.
Yes,
And remember that you have the power to choose positivity.
you do.
Yeah.
And the more you choose it,
Yeah.
the easier it becomes.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And until next time, stay positive.
Stay positive.